Hey guys, my name is Alex, and today we're gonna be going over how to make teas using herbs that you're probably growing in your garden. We're gonna be going over what herbs to use, brewing times, brewing temperatures, and a couple tips and tricks to help you brew that perfect cup of tea. Learning how to use plants that you're growing in your garden is super important because it's super discouraging to spend all that time and energy trying to grow stuff, waiting the weeks or the months that it takes to grow, all just to not use it for anything and to just throw it away. So learning how to make teas is a really good starting point if you want to learn how to utilize the stuff that you're growing in your garden. So some common herbs that people use to make teas from are herbs like lemongrass, mint, chamomile, rosemary, thyme, basil, oregano. You can make teas from any of these things. I know it might sound weird, but it's literally just a matter of steeping the plant material into water. So technically you can make it from a lot of different things. Herbs are generally really simple to grow and really easy to dry out and store for a long period of time. If you haven't checked out my video on a method on how to dry herbs that I really like, it's the hanging method. Check that out, I'll link it in the description. So one of the coolest things about gardening, in my opinion, is the fact that you get to be exposed to many different varieties of stuff. For example, basil, which we're gonna make tea out of today, has 60 different varieties ranging from cinnamon basil to lemon basil to the one we're gonna use today, which is called holy basil. It's one of the coolest basils because it's an adaptogen. And basically what an adaptogen is a natural substance that helps the body manage stress. All right, so how do we go about making a perfect cup of tea? So the first thing to know is that there's a couple different ways to brew tea. Most people are used to using tea bags because it's really convenient and widely available, but the other method is using loose leaf tea, which I think is superior in different ways. So with tea bags, the first problem is that it's really hard to gauge the quality of the tea that comes in them. If you've ever cut open a tea bag and saw what's inside, it's pretty much like dust. It's pretty much like they got the plant material and just powderized it and put it in this bag. And the problem with that is that it expires faster because it's exposed to much more oxygen, and you can't really gauge the quality because it's in a dust form, versus loose leaf tea that you have the whole leaf structure, so it's much easier to gauge the quality. You can see if the leaf has holes in it, if it's brown. Another thing with tea bags is that there's not enough room inside the tea bag for that plant material to expand, because when you put it in the water, it soaks up the water, and that's what the extraction is. That's how you get tea. But when you have a limited amount of space, there's not enough room inside that tea bag for the actual plant material to expand and get that full extraction of flavors and nutrients like you want. So the solution to this is getting a teapot with a wide mouth basket. You probably have seen some in the stores or online. Basically that allows your plant material to have enough room to expand so that you can get the best tasting and most nutritious cup of tea that you can possibly get. There's also other things that you can buy that are like separate, like a tea ball infuser. You've probably seen that in the stores, or you can get a tea infuser basket, which is something that you can just set inside of a cup. It's all the same concept, it's just different forms, and it's pretty cheap. You know, it's anywhere from like 10 to 20 bucks to get into, so it's not that expensive. I've personally been using a teapot from Hario. It's a Japanese company, and they make really good stuff for coffee and tea. I'll put the link in the description. It's this perfect little glass teapot. It's all metal and glass, so I love that, no plastic. And it has a wide enough basket for the plant material to extract. And another thing that I love is just how it looks. And it just brings me joy every time I make a cup of tea because I just love the aesthetics of it. You know, the teapot looks fantastic, the tea tastes great, and it literally just fills me with a little bit of happiness every time I do it. So gardening is not just about utility and getting food from it. It's also about connecting with nature, connecting with people, connecting with the land and food and yourself. So let's get into some numbers. Basically, if you have a dried plant material, you're gonna wanna use 1 teaspoon of that for every cup of hot water that you're using. If you're using fresh herbs, then you're gonna want to use more of it since it's a less concentrated material. You're gonna want to use around 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh plant material compared to the dry herb material. So one thing to note is that not all herbs like to be steeped at boiling point. Some herbs are a little bit more delicate and need to be boiled a little bit below boiling point. I'm gonna put a little chart up just so you can have a rough idea, but it's not a strict science. If you wanted to make a larger amount of tea, you would either go buy a bigger teapot, or you can just find a bigger container to brew the tea in. You can even brew it in the same pot that you heat the water up in. Just make sure that it's not, you know, boiling continuously. Just take it off the fire. I like to use mason jars and my little metal basket that came with my Hario teapot and extract it that way. But that's pretty much it, guys. It's not too overcomplicated. Like I said, we're trying to just connect with food. We're trying to connect with nature. We're trying to connect with people. That's the whole point of this. It's to bring wellness to you. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any of your own tea recipes or traditional ways of making tea, I'd love to hear about it. Other than that, we'll see you in the next video.